The following is a presentation of Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television.
All right, everybody stay here.
What could go wrong? Over the course of 3 nights, practically everyone here was turned.
He's gone. Our future depends on it. Make it safe.
We need a bigger gator!
Lisa, shoot it! Shoot it!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday B Movie Reel. I'm Kevin Batchelder, and on this episode, we've got a special treat for you, folks. Instead of me discussing a film, we're doing another in our series where we talk to some of the folks who helped to make the B movies that we love possible. Longtime listeners know we've talked to several directors and writers, actors, and actresses that have been involved in making B movies, and we always greatly enjoy getting a chance to kind of go behind the scenes and hear more details about these films. And today's podcast is definitely a special one for you. We have with us director Christopher Douglas-Olen Ray. He's going to be talking about 2 of the films that he directed that are coming up on the SciFi channel in their Sharknado week here at the end of July. He directed Megashark vs. Colossus, as well as Three-Headed Shark Attack. And if you're not familiar with his name, you've almost definitely, if you're listening to this podcast, have seen some of his films. He did the original Two-Headed Shark Attack and Shark Week, Megashark vs. Colossus. I could go on. Many films there. He's directed over 15 so far in his career. And he's also been in the film industry his entire life. He's produced many more than that as well, too. So he's got a great view on filmmaking and what goes into making an excellent film. So I think you folks will appreciate his thoughts on those films. Now, if you are not someone who is in the U.S. or you don't have cable TV or whatever, don't fret. You do have a great opportunity to see these films because these are both coming from the folks at the Asylum. And as a matter of fact, the Megashark vs. Colossus film is already out on DVD as of the time this podcast is coming out. So you can grab that from Amazon or wherever as soon as you finish listening to this podcast. And then the Three-Headed Shark Attack will be coming out on DVD in early August. So even if you can't see them on SciFi, you can get a chance to see both these films and a lot of other films from Christopher and the good folks at the Asylum, certainly on DVD and on demand and so forth. So there's some great info coming on those. And also, if you're a fan, as I was, of his 2014 action film that he directed, Mercenaries, you're really going to want to pay attention to the interview. There's some great info coming about that as well. Very exciting news there. So hope you folks enjoy this behind-the-scenes look at a couple of the films. We really appreciate Christopher taking the time to sit down and talk to us. We know how busy he is, so that was much appreciated, and we think you folks will get a kick out of this. So enjoy. I have a very special guest joining us here on the podcast. Please welcome Christopher Douglas-Olen Ray. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me tonight.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Now, our listeners, some of which I believe are going to know you by name, but there's certainly, if not by name, by many of the films you've done over the years. Things like Two-Headed Shark Attack and recently Mercenaries and Megashark vs. Colossus and several more. So our fans are big fans of your previous work, and you've got a couple of films coming up on SciFi and coming out on DVD.
Yeah, actually today Megashark vs. Colossus was released, and then I just saw a news article or something online saying that Three-Headed was going to be on the 20th of July on SciFi channel.
Yes, they finally put out their schedule, so we have some dates for the airings, and that one's also hitting DVD in early August, too.
Yeah, I believe about 2 weeks after it premieres on SciFi.
Oh, that's good. So folks everywhere, whether you're watching SciFi or whatever, you can get your hands on it very soon. It sounds like it's going to be 2 fun films.
Yeah, I mean, Megashark, hopefully, lives up to everyone's thinking it is, and, with the Colossus. And then Three-Headed Shark, and the Three-Headed Shark Attack, you can't go wrong with the cast we ended up there, so. Exactly.
Now, did you shoot these 2 close together or pretty far apart, or?
It's funny. They weren't back to back, but they were pretty close to each other. So, Megashark we shot, had to be, October, November of last year. And then I actually went to I headed to the Pensacola, Florida in mid-December. And I was out there for prepping, and I spent Christmas down there with my daughter, and then came back and we shot in January.
Excellent. So, Two-Headed Shark Attack, if we go back just a little bit, I know it was a really fun film. Really enjoyed that one. Did you have a sense after that one came out and started to get a little traction that they might want you back to do a three-headed?
You know, we didn't actually know what the results of that film was going to be. The fact that it stayed as popular as it has for so many years has been kind of astonishing when you look back on the film.
Yes, I can definitely see that. Had a lot of fun visuals and some good folks in it. It looked like it was a fun time, certainly, for what ended up on screen.
Yeah, no, Carmen Electra was great. Brooke Hogan showed up, and she was actually really, really good to work with. And then Charlie O'Connell was amazing as well. So, you know, those three kind of made the film for us. And then, of course, the shark.
Exactly. I know I've seen some stills. I think you might have shared them with some other folks of, naturally knowing that you've got some of that being done CGI, but you've also got to set up some practical stuff. Does that, and being water-based, does that create some additional challenges for you?
You know, Two-Headed was one of those things where the puppets, because of Monster Man, and the puppets were created originally for the episode 1 of Monster Man, we went ahead and brought the puppets with us to see how we could use them. And it actually ended up working really well, but the teeth were the biggest issue. So, you know, when you're watching the film, you'll see teeth flying off the puppet. if you're paying close attention.
Yeah, I can see.
It definitely caused problems.
Now, when it comes time for three-headed, did you, have to look at kind of a new way to take it, or was it kind of like, settling back into a comfortable chair for you as far as approaching this one? Well,
I mean, we tried to go back to the old formula. We did have some shark puppets made for the film. I did the same thing. I drove cross country with them, and when it came time to use them, Three-Headed Shark was so much bigger in the scope and what we were trying to accomplish that the puppets, we were only able to use the puppets. So we actually had to go into the whole CG world.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, that's something certainly to look forward to.
No, it's definitely going to be a little different here because, it's all CGI now, and the people themselves are, trying to react to nothing being there, where one of the great things about the puppets was that they were, were always there and people could respond to them, which we weren't able to pull off on Three-Headed.
Yep. Gotcha. Exactly. Yeah. We see that sometimes talking to the folks that do it. It's obviously a lot easier if they've physically got something there and you're not having to paint a picture or hang a tennis ball or something like that. Now, did you, in shooting the Three-Headed Shark, aside from dealing with the CGI side, did you have any other kind of big challenges that kind of surprised you at all, or did things kind of go as planned, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, we went to Pensacola, Florida, thinking that we would end up with a little bit warmer climate and things of that nature. When it came time to actually start shooting, 3 days before we shot, it was 19 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, we hit a cold snap. What we didn't realize was that we're right near Alabama. So we're getting more of like Alabama weather than we were getting like Florida weather, where if you were to drive towards Orlando, the same day that was 19, 20 degrees, it was 88 degrees in Orlando. But one of the things we looked at too is, could we go back to the Florida Keys where we shot Two-Headed? But it was, it was snowbird season, so everybody was down there and all the rates and everything for hotels and things had almost tripled. So we ended up having to stay where we were and bear through it. And so you'll see actors in the film, you gotta give them credit. By looking at them, you'll see there's 1 or 2 shots where you actually will be able to see the actor's breath or how cold it is, and he's sitting there soaking wet. And, so you gotta give these guys some credit because it was not warm.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Looking forward to catching a glimpse of that. Now, any other peculiarities or special things to kind of be looking for on the Three-Headed side of it, aside from having a ton of fun again?
I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. I will say, when you're watching the film, and I'm sure if you've seen the trailer, there's a gentleman who goes and jumps off the boat with an axe in the trailer. That actually is the actor Scott Reynolds. He really wanted to do the stunt. We talked with our coordinator, and we found out that Scott was a cliff jumper, so he knew how to take that kind of height, and he ended up jumping off the boat. And like I said, it's in the teaser. That's actually the actor.
Wow.
So, that's a very cool thing to know. Rob Van Dam, RVD, another great, it was very funny. The character was always written as kind of a laid back character. And we pitched RVD, to casting, and they took it. So we made the deal with him, and he showed up, and he literally, his personality and the character are almost identical. So, Rob's really playing Rob. It's actually kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
The last thing I would say about it is, notwithstanding all the other people, Don Hamill, the guy who plays Greg Mills. There was one other gentleman who I'm not going to get into, but Karuchi Tran.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, and just because of the hype and the news and things, everyone was a little worried about what was going to happen with her coming. But I will say this, she was absolutely amazing. She showed up, she knew her lines, she didn't complain, she tried. I mean, she's this tiny little lady who was getting in the water. The first time she got in the water, we got her out, she had turned blue on us. And She was willing to go back in. So, I mean, when people are watching this, I understand they actually had a good time doing it. Jenna Sims, Brianna Ferris, everybody showed up and gave what I felt was 110%, and then some on certain days. So.
Oh, that's great to hear. Looking forward to that. I mean, we had a lot of fun with the first, so I know a lot of folks are very excited for this follow-up. Should be a lot of fun.
I'm going to tell you, man, it's a little different than the first one.
Okay.
Just because, the first one was all about, bikinis and people running around on boats, and that's kind of what made the film what it was. Whereas this film, believe it or not, there's actually a story to it.
Okay. Well, that'll just be an extra bonus.
Yeah. There's actually a story. How well it's portrayed, you guys will have to be the judge on that.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. Now, just switching gears a little over to the other excellent one you got coming, as we said, the Mega Shark versus Colossus. Now, you had done one of the previous Mega Shark films, the Croc versus Crocosaurus. So, and that was, goodness, going back 4+ years. So, was it the same situation here, where less practical and all CGI for this?
Yeah, I mean, the Mega Shark films is really hard to do a practical. I mean, Mega Shark is so huge that there's no way for us to go out and make a practical shark for that. And then, Colossus, we can't make a Colossus because he's, 50, whatever he is, 20, 30 stories tall. So those two guys are all CGI. We tried to do other things practically the best we could, but again, Mega Shark, the Mega Shark films are always about the Mega Shark. Mm-hmm. The actors are, and honestly, the way it's written, the actors are pieces to kind of get Mega Shark and Colossus in position to do their thing. So, now mind you, we had some great actors again, but, everyone wants to see Mega Shark and Colossus fight. So.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what's been the fun in a lot of the previous ones. So I'm sure it sounds like, obviously, because of the scope and the size, that this was a case of you having to let the actors know they literally weren't going to see anything physical on the shooting side of things.
No, we kind of had to guess, too, because sometimes the script would have like 2 pages of the shark and Colossus fighting, and we'd have to figure out what the actors were doing and what they were watching. And so we kind of guesstimated.
Yes. Gotcha. Yeah, very true. The scope of it. Now, when you're doing, and now that you've had some great experience over the years with many of these creature features, both, large and some practical, I'm curious from a directing point of view, because when you have to make all the magic happen, is there a certain part of it that you have the most joy out of doing, if you will, or is the most satisfying when it comes to trying to bring some of these crazy worlds together?
Now, we were referring to like the Mega Sharks and the 2 3-headed sharks, are we referring to something like Mercenaries or versus Earth or something like that?
I'm thinking more on the CGI stuff, dealing with, if you will, otherworldly things rather than a Mercenaries per se.
You know, I think it's stuff that when it pays off. One of my favorite sets in Mega Shark, which we, you know, time-wise and stuff, I actually didn't get to film it for very long at all, but when they go underwater and they find the old Russian lab, that lab, literally it took us about an hour and a half to make it, but it turned out amazingly. And I decided at the time we were up against a green screen psych. And what I ended up doing was shooting over the actor's shoulders to be able to show kind of a casing where Colossus was held. And to finally see that that actual shot come to life was kind of a cool thing because it put a lot of things together. But it was stuff like that trying to fill in holes that either based on the way we had to shoot things or something else fell through the cracks that we had to come back to and try to make sure it ended up back in the film somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And that was one of them. And then, you know, we try to use some practical when it comes to like monitors and things like that. We try to use practical monitors nowadays for the like radar bleeps and things of that nature. But being able to actually have that for people to look at and then tie that in with bringing in Colossus or the Mega Shark and actually have it work.
Yes.
You know, that's what really pays off.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Now, you mentioned it just a little earlier, and I am curious. I know I really enjoyed, as I've heard many other folks too, Mercenaries from 2014. Obviously, a very different situation than these two films in that we're not talking crazy monsters. But you had quite the cast there. A lot of recognizable faces and names. I mean, that was a really fun and good action film. So I'm curious your thoughts on that and how that's a lot different, obviously, than dealing with CGI stuff. But working with a cast of that size, did that present any special challenges for you?
You know, it didn't present any special challenges. That film, for one, I will say that film for me is probably my best film ever, honestly. But what that was a year earlier, I had gone to the guys at the Asylum, and I basically said, you know, out of all the films you guys have given me, the one thing you haven't done with me yet is either action or drama. And I said, if you guys give me an action film, I'll blow your mind. I go, I love action. I've known it, you know, growing up with my dad through the 80s. And that was kind of one of the things we wanted to accomplish was kind of the old 80s action films. And they finally said yes to let me have it. And I went to, one of my normal DPs, Alex Yellen, who is on Z Nation right now and has also directed a few things for SciFi Channel. And we sat down and we kind of plotted the whole film out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the end result's what you get, but those ladies, let me tell you something, to have that much experience and have those ladies caring about the film on day one the same way they do on day 15, and they were all into it, and character-wise, and, I mean, everything about it was absolutely amazing. So, it was a fun film to work on.
Well, look good, because it definitely showed up on screen, and it's funny, a few of us had talked and had said the same thing as far as it did bring back memories of some of your dad's similar films. So you certainly captured it, I think.
Well, you know, and I will be proud to say that I know that Mercenaries we've been greenlit to do a sequel.
Awesome.
It will also be from what I understand, it's the first sequel, probably for the Asylum, that doesn't garner a giant creature CGI monster.
Ah, there you go.
So that's something to think about.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great news. I know a lot of us will be looking forward to that. Super. Well, speaking of looking forward to things, before we let you go, are there any other films or projects you might have coming up in the near future we should be keeping an eye out for?
You know, I've got a couple. We did a film. Man, it's got to be over a year ago. Me and my cousin, Bobby Ray Schaefer, we did a film called They Want Dick Dixter. I directed it with him and he stars in it, and it's basically, it kind of makes fun of the B-movie genre. It's about a B-movie director who, you know, a few years earlier hit his pinnacle with a movie that he did, and now he hasn't made a movie since, and he's trying to get back in the business. And a porn company comes back to him and offers him $100,000 to remake his one-hit wonder, The Cult of Doom. And they want him to remake it into The Cult of Poon. And it's rated R, but there's little to no nudity in the film. And it's a mockumentary that follows this guy around as he deals with, going from what he felt was, his pinnacle to bottom to trying to work his way back up again. And this time in the porn business. So that one's fairly funny. Hopefully it's funny to everybody. That one will be doing a world premiere red carpet on August 15th. I will be putting a blast up on Facebook about it. I'm sure we put the original poster up about a week or two ago, which was the wanted poster. If you look at my Facebook page, it was the wanted poster with Bobby Ray Schaefer on the cover.
Excellent.
So there's that one. There's a horror film that we finished up. We're still editing now called Minutes to Midnight. That one's starring William Baldwin, Richard Grieco, John Hennigan, Bill Moseley, Dominic Swain, Viva Bianca, and Christopher Judge are the stars of it. And that one we're trying to mix a good old horror movie with some action.
Nice.
So we'll definitely see, that one we should be putting up the teaser here probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, very good. Definitely keep an eye out for that one. Excellent.
And of course, Mercenaries 2, as we get more information, but, Mercenaries 2 was greenlit. So that's exciting.
Yes, it is. That's great to hear. A lot of folks are going to be very excited for that. Looking forward to hearing some updates on that one as time comes along. Super. Well, we greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to talk to us. We're really looking forward to these films here coming on SciFi and on DVD already, one of them and one very soon, folks. So certainly reach out for those. They're available from the Asylum and Amazon and all your other online retailers, but help out and definitely support some great B-movie stuff. We really appreciate you talking to us today, Chris.
No problem, man. Anytime.
All right. Look forward to keep us posted on the new stuff coming, too.
Will do.
We offer several ways for you to get in touch with us. You can come by our website at SaturdayBMovieReel.com and leave a comment on any of our blog posts. There's a link there to our discussion forums. You can also send us private email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com or leave us a voicemail message 24 hours a day at 206-202-4182. We also offer a SpeakPipe widget that's on the right side of any of the pages on our website, where you can use your computer or smartphone to leave us a recorded message. And you can find us on Twitter at SatBMovieReel. And our most popular option is our Facebook group. Just search for Fans of Sci-Fi Original Movies, or follow the link to that from any of our blog posts.
Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio On Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to the Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Saturday B-Movie Reel, episode 173, recorded July 8th, 2015.